Hi, everybody. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Holyoke Redevelopment Authority on Wednesday, November 13th. It is 5:01 pursuant to Massachusetts Open Meeting Law, Chapter 30A, 1825, and Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023. Notice was given that this would be a regular meeting of the HRA. This meeting is being held remotely only according to the provisions of the executive order extended by Governor Healy on March 29th, 2023. This meeting notice contained a link providing the public with remote access. We are now being recorded. Matters listed on this agenda are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. Could I get a roll call, please?
Carl Eager, Patrick Boudry,
Yes.
Thomas Creed,
Yes.
Daphne Bora,
Yes.
and George Cologne. Okay.
You call my name?
Yes, Carl, we did. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't hear it. Sorry.
No, you're good. Thank you, Carl.
So the first thing on our agenda is the Beyond Walls license application for the property at Race and Main Streets. I think we all received this in our packet, and I see that Al is here. Aaron or John or Jennifer, do you want to say a few words or?
Sure. So thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks everybody for meeting tonight. I know we have another meeting next week. So taking this as a use agreement for the property. Obviously, this is the property that we've aggregated over time. Recently was home to a long home to the tiny house that eventually found a permanent home up the street on Dwight Street. This would be an activation placemaking activity that we would be engaged in with Beyond Walls. There's a secondary step that we would not be involved in, which would be activation partnership agreement that Beyond Walls and Nueva Esperanza and our Massive Motion Coordinator will probably get into, as well as Tom Reynolds from the Park Department has been looped into the conversation. So this is just that first step. We're excited to activate that space. This is the area where Armory Yard happens, so there's a potential to expand that. There's some key assets that Beyond Walls will be bringing to that location. It's also the location of the Armor Building that is now being renovated by Marco Zayaga. It's going to be home of the Mass Humanities offices. So there's a lot going on in this area, and I think that having a cultural placemaking space would be ideal there. So obviously, Beyond Walls is an organization we've been working with for the past couple of years. They're mostly known as the Mural organization, but they actually got started in placemaking and activating these sort of underutilized spaces. So we're excited to have this opportunity and look forward to working with this board and, of course, Al from Beyond Walls to make this go forward.
Great. Al, did you want to say anything about the project?
No, just, we've been, it's been our honor to partner with the city starting in 2022. And we're really looking forward to this next engagement with the city of Holyoke. So I'm very excited for this.
Great, thanks. Yeah, and I'm excited about the project as well. And I think we all had a chance to look over the license agreement. I see that our attorney Manteleschi is here. Does anyone from the board have any questions or comments?
Ready to vote.
Tom?
Yeah, just in looking at the agreement, I know that we talked about when we talked about this initially, we do want to recognize that this property is still on the market. And I didn't necessarily see anything, and I don't know if it needs to be in the licensing agreement that, to the extent I think we talked about maybe some signage somewhere on the property to denote that that property is still available. Is there any provision to allow us to do something like that, and some recognition on the part of both ourselves and Beyond Walls that this property is in fact on the market? Not that we expect anything's going to happen in 2 years, because it hasn't happened in quite a while, but we wanted that flexibility and that recognition, and I didn't see any of that in the agreement.
Yeah, I thought we put some, so maybe I thought, yeah, we had talked about, so Al, one of the things was to, maybe have some, I think it could be sort of twofold, if you would, a sign that's saying, that this area is a result of a collaboration between the Holyoke Redevelopment Authority and Beyond Walls. This is, city-owned, this is HRA-owned property that is still available for development. So we were thinking about some kind of signage on the lot that would indicate that, both the collaboration, but also the collaboration spirit, but also the idea that this property is also potentially for sale.
We're happy to include that signage on the property for the start of and duration of the activation.
All right, so Tom, we can make a quick amendment to that. There's one other note I want to bring up on the agreement, but I want to let board members go for it first. If there's any others? The only other thing that came up, and it's sort of implied in there, we just didn't know if we needed to spell it out. You know, I think it's on the, I forget, I think it's on the last page, but like general maintenance. So currently Redevelopment Authority has hired Whitman Properties to, you know, mow it and kind of do some general cleaning up of the area, trash and just mowing. And then the winter, you know, there obviously is a sidewalk there along Main Street. So we didn't know if we needed to spell out, you know, that snow will be removed from the sidewalk and, you know, general maintenance will happen, but, you know, it's sort of implied in there, but I didn't know Al or anybody if we wanted that spelt out more, or if it's implied there enough, or if there's a, you know, secondary agreement, or if we need to add anything in there to spell it out more.
I mean, from our standpoint, obviously Beyond Walls is, you know, what we're good at and what we've got a track record of is working with folks on the planning and implementation side. The maintenance side of the property would be beyond our scope, and you know, I would put that back to the city and the board. Our understanding is that Beyond Walls is not going to be responsible for the maintenance of the property, including snow removal. So happy to have that spelt out further. But that's our sort of understanding with everyone for all of our meetings and in this document is that that's clear, but we could make that more robust if folks on this call feel that is needed.
And one of the easiest ways, I think that one of the things is once those assets are on there, it's going to be much easier to maintain. And there could be an agreement. You guys could take over the agreement with Tony Whitman. I think it's $100 or $125 a month. So we can have that discussion as well. Because I think the main thing would be ensuring that the sidewalk is clear in the winter. So that might be an easy contract with Whitman Property Management, who's right next door, who's also your neighbor there. So we can spell those two pieces out, Tom, about the signage and parse out a little bit of the maintenance, but that wouldn't be any substantive changes to the agreement. So we could probably work with Jane and Al in the next day or two and just hash those out.
And I think we are still meeting next week, right? So I think, yeah, there's time to just formalize all of that and get it ready for a vote then, unless the board wants to vote on it tonight.
It's from my perspective, it's a timing. I mean, I'm more than happy to move approval of the agreement now, subject to you know, what I would consider to be immaterial changes consistent with this discussion that could be executed by you, Daphne.
Sure.
All right, so moved.
Second.
Travis, Carl, a second. Can I get a vote on that? A roll call, please.
Pat Bougere,
No, he's muted. You may need to
Okay.
unmute.
okay. Carl Eager,
Yes.
Miss Creed,
Yes.
Daphne Board.
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. Great. Thank you, Al, for coming in and you know, explaining that to us. And we look forward to a signed agreement once everything's kind of finalized.
Excellent.
And the future project there.
Looking forward to seeing many, if not all of you at Race in Maine this late spring, summer for some fun. So
For sure.
appreciate it. I'll duck out now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, we have the HG&E Environmental and Climate Justice Community Change Grant Program collaboration. who wants to explain this briefly to us? I have a few questions, but mostly because I'm not ready. I'm not used to reading all of this like verbiage.
Go ahead, Jen. You got this one.
I wasn't sure. I was like,
That's
do I
what-
do it?
This is your second EPA grant, so yeah.
This is my second EPA. I'm actually trying to pull up, I pulled up
Well,
a one pager.
I'll set the table real quick for Jen.
Okay.
So we were reached out to by Holyoke Gas and Electric less than like 3 weeks ago that they were looking at this EPA grant. This is also a similar grant that we collaborated with the DPW and some other community partners and have applied for. We're waiting to hear back. And so the Holyoke Gas and Electric reached out to us to be one of their partners on this. This is a focus on High Street, which we know HRA is focused on. So it seemed like a natural collaboration. And it is the crux of the grant is for electrification improvements along High Street. I believe it's actually a $40 million project all told. So this will be about half the project.
It is.
But this obviously is the issue that we have with a lot of our buildings as they get rehabbed, having to put in transformers because there's no natural gas. The area is not set up to take on the rehab projects that we have lined up along High Street, and never mind the ones that we want to have on High Street. So this would be the main crux of the project is to upgrade the electrical. And then as a community partner, we would be receiving some funds as well. And the idea there was to maybe bring back to life the code improvement upgrade grant loan program we had talked about last year, the potential of having some funds to actually do something like that. So, Jen, is there more to add?
No, actually, that's it. I'm trying to get the map up, but I'm struggling
We see
with
it.
the,
It's up.
What's up?
can you see it, the map?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that's their map area of where they're looking to do the upgrades. So as you can see, it's all, I mean, it's absolutely applicable to what we do, being the HRA. And it just was a really good fit. And the fact that they were willing to, jump to that $1 million mark as far as, our participation in, applying for the grant was it was just nice that they were willing, I mean, I know that they had to, but we went in thinking just a little bit and then they said, well, let's do this. And so I think that what we want to do with the money they're going to give us and what they're doing is going to just fold in well together. They'll be able to do the upgrades and then we may be able to then help developers in that area then further upgrade as things start to come online. So, and again, we don't have to iron out all the details on how the program would operate now. We're just pitching that this is the type of program that we'd like to do should they be awarded the 20 million and we get that 1 million for the HRA. So we know that once we're awarded the funds, then, the heavier lift begins where we're going to actually have to iron out what we want this program to look like.
So the Genie is applying for a $20 million grant.
Yes, they are.
Okay. And would this map be at all adjustable? Like, is this just still in sort of draft form? If we get,
I don't believe so. I think that this is their map for where they're trying to do the electrical upgrades.
okay. And did they give, I mean, I'm assuming they know what's required in terms of electrical upgrades, and that's why they chose this map area.
I think
it
they've done a lot of work. Yeah, I do think they've done a lot of analysis prior to figure out what's needed down there, because this grant is actually pretty detailed. So they're going to have to really itemize what they're looking to spend the funding on.
Do I have any other questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, a couple. So
Carl?
this document that we're looking at is really just forming the partnership between us. So it has nothing to do with the application. The application hasn't been completed yet. So this is just forming the entity that will ultimately be the applicant.
Correct.
So when
Kind
I,
of. Well, they are the lead applicant. We're a statutory partner. So the applicants need a community-based organization. And so we're supposed to play a fairly sizable role in getting this submitted, and then we keep track of as it goes forward. That's why they thought HRA and HG&E make a good fit because of the focus on both projects.
so in order for us to be a partner in this application, we need to form a partnership. And I'm assuming that that's your understanding and that's Jane's understanding.
Yes, that's well, that's what that agreement does. That is the agreement that forms that partnership.
Okay.
And that will outline how we operate and how they operate going forward. And that gets included when we submit the application.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to be clear, we're not forming, a partnership with the Secretary of State or anything like that. It's just, this is a memorandum, just of sort of a joint venture that we're going to be doing.
And does I'm assuming the operative bullet from my perspective is the project manage a $1 million investment to transform this district through the development of a high street corridor support program, marketing strategy, establishment of EDG, and outreach efforts. Did we come up with that language as a staff? Is that language broad enough for what it is we might do with the million? What was the thought process around that language specifically?
I could add, I think you kind of nailed it, Tom, with this is kind of, we initially weren't expecting the amount of funds that they proposed in this amount, and there were some early discussions about marketing and outreach, but then it evolved into let's get some money into developers that could really take the work from the street and improve properties along High Street and the adjacent streets. So so our focus really was on the second bullet, the establishment of grants. And the G&E actually came back to us and said, would you maybe consider some type of revolving loan where this money isn't just going out once, but potentially the money could keep coming back. So so this all happened over 2 or 3 discussions with the G&E over the last few weeks, and the reason their deadline for the grant is the 21st, and that's the reason we wanted to have this a little bit ahead of their deadline for the grant application. But yeah, so, and as Jennifer said earlier, we kind of made it very broad at this point because we weren't even prepared to really flesh out the specifics of these programs. But in internal discussions, we said, the code upgrade was something we were really interested in doing a few years ago, and this could really help jumpstart that.
All right. Just 2 more quick questions, if I could, Daphne. First one is, staying on that topic, does this language, for instance, allow us to acquire property with this money? I mean, this is a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So, and to the extent that we're trying to do something on the High Street corridor, property acquisition could potentially be a fairly significant piece of our strategy. We've always talked about it, and it's not clear to me whether this would allow us to do that or not.
That would have to be a question that HG&E would ask their technical assistant. We get technical assistants to assist us in maneuvering the grant application because it is so intense. And I do remember that the question of acquisition came up in the first application, but I don't remember what the result was. So that could be something that we could ask HG&E to follow up to see if that is permissible.
Yeah.
But again, all of the asks go back to what's available within the grant guidelines.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd have to check.
And just a thought along those lines, if it's permissible under the grant guidelines and the program, maybe we could add something like strategic property acquisition, something like that, if it's permissible. I think we purposely left this very broad. So if that's a possibility, see any reason why we wouldn't want to include it.
Yeah, and again, we totally didn't anticipate $1 million, so we weren't ready to spend that right then and there. But yeah, acquisition, like I said, I can't remember where the needle landed when it was asked many months ago. But I can certainly follow up on that and find out.
And my last question is it anticipated that we'll have a chance to look at the application before it's submitted in light of the fact that we are a partner to it?
We should, yeah, they should. I can ask for a copy of that before they submit it. That shouldn't be an issue.
Isn't the
I have a
is the
one
deadline-
pager, but that's it.
Is the deadline next week for submitting the entire application?
Yes, it is. It's the
And so that would
21st.
be like, and when is our next meeting? Is that the 21st?
The 20th.
The 20th.
Okay.
Which is why they were asking to have this meeting so that they could have this piece
Yeah.
before the night before.
Yeah.
And I think we will be able to share the application in advance. I know Kate from the Genie would have been here, but she's out of town today. Because yeah, it'd be, I think it'd be important to get familiar with the application. But again, this agreement is I don't think would change that much. It's similar to the one that the city did with on the other grant applications. So it's not the form of it is not that much different, but it would be good to see the application. And I think, and Jennifer can probably vouch for this. It is a pretty massive application.
So the reason I'm asking, I'm not expecting that, we get last, refusal right when looking at the application. We're a very small part of this, even at $1 million. But I'm really asking because if, as a partner to the application, if someone said, well, have you seen it? I wouldn't want to have to answer no.
Right.
Right. And
There's a lot of parts and pieces to it, so I will ask her for a full copy and try to send it on to everybody. It will I think our application was approximately 58 pages total when we did ours a couple months ago. So it is, it is a beast. But yeah, I can certainly ask her for and all the attachments and forward them on.
Thanks, Daphne. Thanks, Jen.
Carl, do you still have questions, comments?
Mine would only be a comment wherein it's my understanding GE found a largesse in the grant program, and it made sense to needs that they otherwise might not have tackled, but for the additional financing. And the grant has power when it's multifaceted in a community as opposed to a single entity. It's ideal that we, given our task, overlaps with what their need is, and a joint venture just makes sense. To me, if the documents haven't been changed, I'm ready to move for approval.
I had just a question, I guess, probably for Attorney Mantaleski in the language in the agreement where the G&E is talking about if someone sues them or sues us, we're responsible for all of the fines. Are we, I'm assuming we're sort of insulated or, against that via some insurance that we have?
Well, Jen,
Did it strike anyone else on the board as curious? Or is it just regular language?
I mean, I would have to defer to John, Aaron, and Jen as to the status of HRA's insurance that they have. So I'm going to defer to them on that. But there is some protection under the like the Torts Claims Act and everything for the HRA too. So there is protection there, but as for insurance, I would definitely defer to John and Aaron and Jen.
yeah, I'm trying to pick up real quickly where that was referenced. But
think it was in section 3, subsection 4, responsible to reimbursement to HG&E for any legal costs and claims incurred by HG&E as a result of actions by HRA employees and our agents. Is that what you were referring to, Daphne?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I just, I mean,
It is-
I
it is
see these
limited
things as
to-
sort of,
Yeah, it is limited to essentially Aaron and the staff and anybody you hire. So that's a plus. But if there's something that we did, and we being the proverbial we, all of us, including I'm assuming OPED staff, because you staff the HRA, we would be responsible for that. And I think that's what you're looking for in terms of what kind of liability coverage do we have? And I think that's your question, Daphne.
basically, yeah, because I mean, I'm used to seeing these things as reciprocal, or, having in these legal agreements, like, okay, we're responsible for this, and if they do anything, they're responsible or whatever. And I just saw it as like the G&E is telling us we're responsible for it all. But that, I mean, I'm not used to reading these things, so that was just my interpretation.
Only if a deep pocket is perceived.
So Carl, did you make a motion to, do we need a motion? Are we just reading this as
Subject
like
to
a
the document as
draft?
it's described to us, if there's no changes. Move approval.
Well, I mean, I can add definitely in here, a reciprocal clause as to the responsibility to reimburse. Have that be from HGA or HG&E to HRA as well. I could put that under, add a clause 8, I believe, under subsection A. I could add that in. So section 3, subsection A, point 8, I could add in a reciprocal language as to reimbursement for legal costs and claims incurred by HRA as a result of actions by HG&E. We could add that in. And I think that would be reasonable.
Okay, I mean, if it seems like it should be there, but I just, like I said, I'm not used to these things. I don't,
For sure. No, I don't. I feel like that would be, a good thing to have in there. So no, I don't think that's a bad idea at all.
Anyone else?
I think if it's not a big deal at all to add it, let's add it. So maybe like an amended motion to accept with Attorney Mantaleski's reciprocity language included.
I'd second that.
Would we want to include the property acquisition option if that's allowable to this?
I think if that's allowable, I would anticipate that would be another amendment to the agreement.
So we
So-
have
so
two,
for capturing the motion, and I guess I'd look to Carl and Pat, approving this partnership agreement with the addition of subsection 8 as Attorney Mandaleski described, as well as the potential for any acquisition language is deemed allowable and appropriate, subject to our council's approval, would be acceptable for the chair to sign on our behalf.
great, thanks.
Carl and Pat, you okay with that?
Yes.
Can I please get a roll call then with the seconded of that motion?
Carl Eager,
Yep.
Thomas Creed,
Yes.
Daphne Board,
Yes.
Patrick Boujee.
Yes.
Great, thank you for approving that. Moving on to any other business. Is there any other business?
Well, I would just take Madam Chair, I would just take a minute to just throw a few items out that will be dived into more at the next meeting and the meeting after that, but just to give people just a general update. real quick would be, next week is our annual meeting. So I know that Jennifer and John are working on the annual report, and you'll have that. And it'll be our annual meeting. Sarah from Holyoke Housing Authority will be coming in, give an update on that. And it is also where we elect new officers. So I think there's already been some conversation. Unlike other boards, some have a mayoral appoints the chair and et cetera. This is devised by the members. So we are down a member, obviously, but so next week we do ask that there'll be new officers voted in. So if we want to have any follow-up conversations, we can, but hopefully you has some communications been happening there on that front. The other thing on that note, I mentioned Holyoke Housing Authority. We will send you the information. They're having an open, I don't know if it's a groundbreaking or an open house, or it's a groundbreaking.
Yes, groundbreaking.
Okay, so at 10 a.m. next Thursday?
November 21st. Yep.
Yeah, November 21st. So we'll send you the information. Sarah just sent it to us. We will send it to you 10 a.m. Thursday, the 21st, Holyoke Housing Authority, Phase 2 groundbreaking. But again, we meet on the 20th. Next Wednesday is the annual meeting. You'll get the annual report, and we do voting new officers. Just two other things to mention, and Tom almost preempted some of the conversation we'll have. I believe you've been notified that we were approved for the site readiness grant. Mm-hmm. We're gonna have Ben Murphy, an old familiar face and friend, with us next week to explain a little bit about that grant. We are going to try to push the envelope on it because it's a little bit of a study grant, but to Tom's point, we are more interested in being able to have funds to be able to secure property as needed. But Ben's going to come and talk to us next Wednesday about that grant. It really probably won't be activated to the new year, but again, we'll give us an overview on that site readiness grant with a focus on the Cabot and Main Street intersection. Additionally, and it'll be voted on tomorrow by the legislature. Another familiar face to many of us, to all of us, Representative Pat Duffy has secured an earmark for the Redevelopment Authority of $250,000. This will probably be the most flexible money we'll ever have. The only caveat to think about, and that's why we will move quickly once it's voted on, we'll move as quickly as we can. These kind of earmarks are often subjected to what's called a 9C cut that could happen later on in the spring. So we will try to secure this funding quickly. 9C cuts happen when the governor realizes that they don't have enough money to finish out the year and often look at earmarks to be cut. Sometimes, recently, I know that Girls Inc. received an earmark and they had gotten half the money and then it was cut. So they didn't have to give anything back, but they had gotten the money that they had gotten, they received, they were able to keep. So we'll move quickly on trying to secure that funding once that's approved. So that's very exciting to have some of that flexible funding. So we will have the site readiness grant. We hopefully have this earmark and the potential of additional funds through this community change grant. So we are trying to get some money to the coffers to be able to do the work we need to do, whether it's securing property, hiring consultants, getting studies, getting appraisers, surveys, et cetera. So that's the kind of funding that we're looking for. So we're happy to see some of that come in. And then the last thing, just as an FYI, but again, there's a few hiccups we need to work out on. Nothing that the Redevelopment Authority needs to work on, but we have received another Central City liquor license application. So we're excited about that. We've got a little bit of work to do with the law department and the city council and Representative Duffy to secure the expansion of the zone that we've already approved. But we're excited to already see some additional interest in the Center City liquor licenses. So that'll be something that'll be coming before you, if not the next meeting, very soon thereafter. So some good announcements on, again, another application on the horizon for a Center City liquor license on High Street.
Who is it? Sorry.
It's all right. It's an individual named Westbrook.
Jonathan Westbrook.
Jonathan Westbrook. So
he's creating a place called Wes's Spot.
Wes's Spot. And he's been trying to get a liquor license for a little bit. He tried to secure another one that was on the market and that fell through. So he's been working diligently to secure one.
Great.
Yeah, so that's exciting. And then so again, we got the earmark, the grant, And next week is our annual meeting. Again, thank you for taking time to meet tonight to take on these other two issues, these other two matters. So I appreciate that. But next week will be the annual meeting. And also before the annual meeting, as you all know, is also the opportunity to tour the wind development site. I believe it's at 3:30, John?
That's what we were thinking. We have some flexibility, but with the darkness that sets in so early now, and in our 5 o'clock meeting, hopefully folks can make that. And I think if that works, or if we need to adjust the time, we can. But it's 3:30. We'll meet at the same spot. We'll actually be able to walk across the connecting bridge from their community center to the building. So, 3:30.
Yeah.
And
a lot easier to get around the building than last time. So,
yeah. And we'll probably have some updates. Just a reminder that's we can ask questions, but we really can't have discussions during that tour. And I think, but we'll have a few more updates on the wind project. We have our regular discussions with them about next steps and things like that. So we'll have some more updates on that. And I just also just want to just a reminder, partly for myself and for Jennifer, we will circulate that draft grant agreement hopefully before the next meeting for the Genie, just so we have a chance to look at it.
Great.
So
Thank
things
you
to come.
for
Yep.
all of that. We'll be ready next week.
Yeah, Madam Chair, can I just?
Yep.
I know you said, I believe you said that it's being submitted next week. Do we know a day?
The 21st.
Okay.
Thursday.
Yeah, the 21st is the deadline, and they requested. We were like, "Oh, we'll have everything in place. We'll put this before the HRA on the 20th." But for lots of reasons, it made sense to try to pull this together a week ahead of time.
Agreed.
And they kind of decided to do this, they didn't catch wind of this application until, the later end of it. And so they are really moving and grooving to try to write this massive application to get it in. So
Well,
I
love
was
it.
wondering about that.
Yeah.
I saw that there have been several rounds already of this.
Yeah, it took us many months, and there was probably half a dozen of us. We met every other week, and it took us several months to put it together. And that
Right.
was, there was multiple organizations. So yeah, they're really working over there to get this out the door for the 21st. So
Carl?
Yeah, if I heard correctly, then next Wednesday, the 20th, we'll have a walk around on the Appleton
Yes.
at 3:30. And therefore we'll be live for our annual meeting at 5,
yes.
the office. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be in person here. So absolutely.
Anyone else have any questions, comments, ideas, thoughts? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn
So
So
moved.
moved.
until next week.
Second.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Carl Eager,
Yes.
Patrick Bougere, Thomas Creed,
Yes.
Daphne Board.
Yes, thank you.